Hi friends! I hope that you've had a really wonderful day. Where I am, it snowed a lot, like literally all day yesterday, and I stepped outside and it was much deeper than I thought it would be, and so shoveling my car out was fun, but I went snowing with my friends. I went sledding with my friends, and that was a lot of fun. Where we went, there was like a kid's birthday party happening, and I was like, wow, I would love to have this birthday party, like as an adult. I would adore this. So that was cute and inspiring and fun. Maybe next year for my birthday I will go up, get a little cabin in, like the mountains, and go snowboarding or something. I've been dreaming about snowboarding a lot. I've never gone, but I really want to go. Anyways, that's how I'm doing today. But I hope that you're having a really good day. Thank you so much for tuning in today for the second episode of the Plant Peace podcast. Last week, we kind of just went through the introduction, what to be expected of this podcast. We discussed my personal journey to veganism and just, a lot of little other topics as well. This week, we're going to be addressing what is speciesism, and we're going to be talking about the fishing industry. I'm going to have this podcast be about the same length as the last one, so time is going to kind of depend on how far I go in it. Regardless of how far I go, though, next week's episode is going to be a little bit out of alignment with, not out of alignment, but out of the order of the book, because next week I'm going to be in Clarion, I don't actually know that's probably how to say it, Clarion, Iowa. I'm going to be attending a trial of Matt Johnson. He's being prosecuted for rescuing a piglet and also for getting footage of the first ever time it's been recorded of ventilation shutdown, which I'm going to be addressing what that is in that episode. I'm going to be reading from the chapter on pigs, since he was, that's what the charge is about, and then talking with him and, really just learning about the case, what the prospects are for it. It's possible he could do some serious prison time for this, so we're hoping that won't be it. There's a lot of people traveling to Iowa for this little convergence to support him, and I'm hoping for the best, but I'm really excited to sit down and talk with him about this next week. So yeah, so that's what to expect then. And I have several other interviews lined up too that I'm like super excited about. I realized I wanted to interview him, and then I started thinking about other people I wanted to interview. So I have two people I'm going to be interviewing while I'm at that little convergence, and then another one as well, and then someone else I'm still going to reach out to. But yeah, I'm super excited about that. And I've also been writing up some stuff that I didn't write in the book. I didn't write about a lot of amphibians. I didn't touch on amphibians. I don't know why. I mentioned them in the exotic animal trade, I believe so, but I wrote a section on octopuses, octopi, apparently both are proper. I still need to write the turtle section, and then I wrote about frogs and alligators and crocodiles. And so I think that all of those animals might have their own section. But without further ado, let's jump into this week's topic. And just a reminder, if any questions come up, I suggest maybe writing them down or taking a note on your phone. You're welcome to reach out to me about, anything that you want elaboration on, or anything that, you're kind of questioning, or you just want to have a conversation about, or, you can do your own research about the topic. So really just, I encourage you to think critically about the information I'm about to share, and do your own research, look into it. How do you feel about it? Really sit with yourself, and share this information with your friends, your family. Please share this podcast. I would appreciate that a lot. Okay, yay, let's get started. Alrighty, where exactly are we? Alrighty. Speciesism. Before we dive into the deep end, I'd like to address a lesser-known form of discrimination, speciesism. In essence, speciesism is the assumption of human superiority that leads to the oppression of non-human animals. This also applies to the way we view certain species versus others, based on the culture we were raised in. As a species, wow, it's 5 times in, okay. As a species, we have otherized animals, despite the fact that we ourselves are animals. Most of us view animals as less than, different, subjectable, obedient, unintelligent, and worst of all, property. So when a human is called an animal or a bitch or a cow, the ingrained automatic response is to take offense. That is due to how deeply speciesism is embedded into our language. Speciesism, similar to all other isms, is a system of oppression that privileges and overvalues human beings while it disadvantages and undervalues non-human animals. Speciesism is an agent-target system in which every single human being on this planet is an agent, regardless of your race, sex, gender, class, ability, or any other distinction. As the agent in an unjust system, it is our responsibility to check our privilege and see what we can do for those who have lost their rights due to our privilege. Quite frankly, the least we can do is stop paying for their enslavement. Speciesism is quite applicable to the privilege humans attain over non-human animals, but it's also seen in our emotional relationships to animals. Most people care more deeply for dogs than they do fish, for cats than they do cows, for horses than they do pigs. Person to person, this differs, as we all have different emotional experiences and therefore varying associations with our animal kin. What is important to know is that the inherent value of someone's life and well-being is not determined by our relationship to them. There are quite literally billions of humans on this planet that you will never meet in this lifetime. However, that doesn't take away from the value of their life. You may not be sad if they were to pass on as you did not know them, but their life still matters. The same thought system can be applied to animals. All of our lives are special to us. Our experiences are our own, and we have the right to be happy, to enjoy life. Who are we to take away another's life, another's joy? Fish. On commercial farms, anywhere between 37 and 120 billion fish are killed annually. That's so many. Like, really sit and think about that for a second. 37 to 120 billion fish. I think there's like 7.6 billion humans on this planet right now. That's how many we kill annually, is the 120 billion-ish figure. Those are just commercial farms. That's craziness. Oh my goodness. Okay. While in the wild, over 2 trillion with a T. Over 2 trillion fish face a brutal death. Fish are killed and consumed more than any other animal on this planet. They are also the most popular pet, and they are the second most common vertebrae used for animal testing. There are approximately 32,000 known species of fish. Fossil records show that they've been here on Earth for around 500 million years. In our ignorance, humans often classify all fish as being unintelligent and incapable of suffering. This is a gross misperception, as some fish have been observed following traditions, holding long-term memories, working with one another, and even using tools. The range at which sea creatures differ is similar to how us land mammals do the same. Humans are different from kangaroos, as goldfish are different from the large-toothed sawfish. We're all individuals within our common species having a unique experience of this world. As land animals, we often don't connect to our fellow earthlings in the sea. Many people at least passively care about the lives of whales and dolphins. However, when it comes to fish, most of us are apathetic due to our lack of emotional connection to these creatures. How might our behavior change if we had an idea of what their lives were like? I'd like to ask you this. Do you believe that your emotional connection to someone determines the inherent value of their life? Does a lack of connection to someone justify their life being stolen from them? Imagine for a moment what it would be like to be ripped from your home by a hook in the mouth and brought into a new world in which you cannot breathe, and the first creature you encounter shows you merciless brutality. Can you feel the panic in that encounter? The fear? Is that what a fish feels? Perhaps you're thinking, do fish even feel pain? The short answer to that is yeah. Yeah, they do. There has been quite a bit of research conducted on the matter, and the general consensus of the scientific community is that fish do in fact have the ability to suffer. If you would like to learn more about the matter, then I suggest reading an article in the Smithsonian Magazine online titled, "It's Official, Fish Feel Pain." Despite the overwhelming evidence that fish suffer when us humans do horrible things to them, they still have practically no legal protection, especially on factory farms. These intensive farming operations, also known as aquaculture, make up about half of all sea life consumed by humans. Antibiotics, hormones, and pesticides are used habitually on the fish to keep diseases at bay in the overcrowded, dirty environment they are kept in. In open ocean aquacultures, all of the chemicals that are absorbed into the fish being farmed seeps out into the sea. This is obviously harmful for the environment. Additionally, on occasion, one of the caged fish may make a successful escape. While this is excellent for that individual, it may have a detrimental effect on the native life, as diseases or unideal genetic traits may be spread to wild fish. Most fish farmed industrial are carnivorous. Several pounds of wild fish are sometimes consumed to produce 1 pound of farmed fish. Fish, such as the bluefish tuna, are considered highly efficient ocean predators. But now, because one can be sold for millions of dollars, they're being killed at unprecedented rates. Another example of this is the living dinosaur of the sea, the sturgeon. These great beasts can grow up to 6 meters in length in the wild and can live to be 100 years old. Biologists have uncovered evidence suggesting that the sturgeon were alive over 200 million years ago. Despite this, the inflated superiority complex of humankind still farms and kills these creatures. Why? Well, mostly for their eggs. Often farmed indoors for a period of 1 to 7 years, sturgeon are exploited for their sexual reproductive system and their flesh. After being yanked out of the not-so-safe environment they were forcibly bred into and whacked in the head with a hammer, they are dismembered. Their eggs are taken out of them to be sold as caviar. Their bladder is removed and often used to filter beer, and their flesh is sold as meat. Humans annihilate species at all levels of the ecological hierarchy. While slaughtering top predators is awful, killing the animals serving as the baseline food source for many sea creatures is equally, if not more, destructive. Due to this, the Antarctic ecosystem is critically endangered, largely because of climate change and a key species being at risk: krill. Krill are essential for the survival of several large marine species, such as whales and penguins. Global warming has been making the sea less friendly for these little critters, while fishing has taken a deadly toll on their numbers. The main purpose for these invertebrates industrially is as fish feed and for health supplements. Some massive fishing ships, which act as floating slaughterhouses, essentially vacuum millions of krill from the ocean. Those who capture and kill krill estimate that there are 400 to 500 million tons of krill left. However, an estimate from the British Antarctic Survey has a much lower estimate of 110 million tons. This is deeply concerning when the legal catch limit is put at 4 million tons. A marine reserve expert with the Greenpeace International states that whales, penguins, seals, albatrosses, and petrels, all of those creatures we think are absolute icons of Antarctica, depend on krill. It's part of the global commons and one of the most pristine environments on Earth. In addition to the obvious violence committed against fish in the fishing industry, there are ways in which this slaughter has a ripple effect across the entire world. Let's start with our coral reefs. Coral reefs are a collection of living animals that thrive off of fish excrement, while also serving as a home for many fish. They have a symbiotic relationship that is dependent upon one another. Unfortunately, due to an array of factors including fishing, rising sea temperatures, ocean dead zones, and general pollutants, the world's coral reefs are dying off at an unprecedented rate. In the Great Barrier Reef, at least a quarter of the coral is dying. Globally, half of the ocean coral reefs have died off, and the trajectory moving forward appears to be grim. With the coral reefs of the ocean dying, it points to disaster for our planet's seas and for all of those who rely on them. In addition to coral loss, the death of the ocean may very well mean the death of the planet as we know it. Estimates by scientists state that 50 to 80% of the oxygen on Earth is produced by ocean life. The oxygen produced fluctuates, and much of it is consumed by ocean life themselves. However, when dead zones emerge, areas in which more oxygen is consumed than produced, then a dangerous situation arises. Sea creatures are unable to live in a dead zone, so that area becomes devoid of all life. As of 2008, 405 dead zones were recorded in a study. many of which surround the coast of the United States. Dead zones can happen naturally, but most do not. Dead zones are caused by an increased amount of chemical nutrients in the ocean, which leads to an excessive algae bloom. Once these algae die, the matter begins to decompose. This process takes up quite a bit of oxygen, and when there's an abundance of algae, then it can sometimes take up a majority of the oxygen contained in the surrounding ocean. This leads to water with a severe lack of oxygen, which makes it an unlivable habitat for sea life. Animal waste, which is rich with nutrients and chemicals that is improperly disposed of, makes its way into our oceans. Often, massive factory farms are next to rivers, streams, and major water sources that eventually lead into the ocean. This is why there are massive dead zones surrounding the entire southern and eastern coastlines of the United States. In this country alone, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency estimates that 335 million tons of manure is created by livestock annually. In North Carolina alone, the manure produced by pigs is more than double that of the human population there, and that's all managed without a proper waste treatment plan. This shitload of manure, paired with fertilizer runoff from mass amounts of chemically treated monocrops, creates a toxic mixture for our ocean. This is seen as the leading cause of ocean dead zones. Now, let's address carbon for a moment. Carbon is a trace gas that traps heat within the atmosphere. Put simply, too much carbon in the atmosphere leads to rising temperatures across the globe. This could cause a chain reaction that would dramatically change the planet. life on this planet as we know it. The ocean is capable of absorbing 50% of the carbon being emitted, being the largest carbon sink on the planet. This makes sense as the ocean covers 70% of our planet. The ocean hasn't always been a carbon sink, however. Human activity has led to this major role being adopted. The ocean does naturally absorb carbon, however, it does have its limit, and when it's reached, ocean acidification is the result. With that said, the ocean is absolutely vital in order to keep global temperatures livable for a majority of the species that call this planet home. Plankton, coral, fish, and algae absorb carbon from the atmosphere. Larger fish, such as whales, absorb mass amounts of carbon from the atmosphere. This means that sea life staying in the ocean is essential in order for carbon sequestration. Sequestration? I don't know. It's a hard word to say. It's like sequester, but sequestration. Sequestration. Anyways, less sea life equals more carbon in the atmosphere. Now keep that in mind for this next sentence. If current fishing trends continue, it's likely that the ocean will be devoid of practically all reachable life by 2048. It's 2022. When we fish, we're not only taking a life, but we're also taking carbon out of the ocean and putting it back into our atmosphere. When it comes to whaling, this matter becomes even more severe. Sea creatures serve a vital role for the balance on our planet. Approximately 93% of carbon stored can be found in the oceans. We need it to stay there. Bycatch. Nearly 300 wild sea animals are killed every year to feed one American, but that doesn't include the fishing industry's bycatch. Bycatch is the number of sea creatures that fishermen didn't intend to catch, but did so anyways. They are often caught in the large nets of industrial fishers used to sweep the bottom of the ocean floor. Those unintentionally caught are then discarded, often dead or injured, back into the ocean. These animals can include dolphins, turtles, sharks, stingrays, anchovies, and krill, to name a few. When you factor in the number of animals caught inadvertently to the kill count of the average American's diet, then the number of deaths jumps to 500 sea animals a year, for just one human. Shrimp trawler nets, specifically, are devastating for the environment. Nearly 2/3 of the beings caught in these death traps are considered bycatch and are often discarded back into the ocean dead. Those who were caught intentionally generally die due to asphyxiation, choking due to lack of oxygen, while the rest are gutted alive. Time of death after being caught ranges from 25 to 250 minutes. Of those killed, nearly half of them are used as feed fish. That is, fish used to feed other animals that will then be fed to humans. These animals include other fish, chickens, and pigs. Whales. Whales are incredible creatures. They're emotionally complex and have specific neurons that are linked to communication, memory, perception, understanding, and problem solving. Evolutionary scientists theorize that they used to be land animals that returned to the sea over a long period of time. It's funny, they're like, no, we're going back. I would too. Well, not nowadays. You know, this is a little off topic, but when people are like, what animal would you want to be if you're not a human? Like, I would choose dolphin, but I wouldn't choose dolphin because of humans. And that's so sad. Like, that's so sad. I wouldn't want to be any other animal on this planet right now because of the threat of human beings. Like, obviously humans are a threat to humans as well. Like, I can acknowledge the depth of that. But, like, humans are a threat to every species on this planet significantly. Like, could easily just wipe a species extinct. It's ridiculous. Like, all of these sea creatures that are just vibing, living their lives, and then these beings from essentially another world, because, I mean, the ocean and here on land, it's the same planet, but it's a different world, it's a different reality. And we go there, we pillage their home, and we take their lives, and we ruin their home. It's ridiculous. It's insane. It's madness. Ah! And, okay, talk about this later, but I'm going to just touch on this now because I feel like someone's going to say something about it. There's a difference of industrial fishers or fishing for fun or fishing just because, well, essentially for fun, just because you're like, I want to fish, versus sustenance fishing. Like dolphins, for example. They're sustenance fishers. They kill fish that they eat because that's what they eat. Now, if you live in a remote fishing village, like, obviously, if that's your primary source of nutrients, like, yeah, do that, because that's coming from a different point. That's coming from a point of necessity. But if you're just like, today, when I was sledding, there was someone who was ice fishing next to me, and I'm like, you're just doing that because you want to have a good time, and you think a good time is sitting on the ice and waiting to murder someone. And I can understand the sitting on the ice being like a nice time, just like vibing, but the activity shouldn't be murder that you're doing for funsies. I think that's gross. So yeah, killing for fun, not cool. Killing for survival is a bit of a different story. Still not ideal, but circle of life, man. It happens. But that doesn't give you an excuse to go out and just like murder people, you know? You know. Okay. Moving on. Where was I? Okay. Whew. Blue whales are the largest known animals on the planet. Their tongue weighs about as much as their nearest competitor, the elephant. These whales sing throughout a day in a language that humans only dream to understand. It's been theorized that if there was no land mass to block it, then a blue whale's song could circle the entire globe and return to the original singer. Toothed whales, including dolphins, use echolocation to identify where others are in their environment and to navigate their underwater terrain. Whales experience a level of protection that most species do not. In 1986, commercial whaling was banned. However, 3 countries still continue whaling. These nations are Japan, Norway, and Iceland. Since the ban, they've killed about 40,000 whales for the purpose of scientific investigation and food. Yeah, I'm gonna murder you for science. Actually, science does that a lot, so not that surprising, but not cool. Not an excuse. An activist group dedicated to marine life, the Sea Shepherds, has been the leading fight against whaling. They have been particularly active in harassing Japanese commercial whaling ships posing as research vessels. The place they choose to hunt was in the Southern Ocean Whale Sanctuary. Between the years 2002 and 2017, the Sea Shepherds have directly stopped the attempted murder of 6,000 whales. For this reason, the Sea Shepherds are unjustly labeled as eco-terrorists. Many of them are actually banned from Japan. Pretty metal, honestly. Another aspect of this industry is the whales honestly, pause. I just want to talk about the sea shepherds for a minute because they're awesome. They are like the oldest animal rights organization. They predate PETA. And they are direct action. I mean, like, their boats will ram the side of whalers. They are willing to go to war for these animals, and I think that's so impressive. If you're looking for like a really direct actiony way to get involved, you can become a crew member on one of their many ships, and you can work to protect the ocean, like be a soldier for marine life, essentially. And yeah, the whole ships are vegan because they're an animal rights organization. And they're just really cool. It's not something that I want to do because there are other things that I would like to do, but I think I admire it so much. And that's an opportunity for you if that's something you're interested in. But I just wanted to let you know that. Sea Shepherds, look them up. Support them. They're fantastic. They used to have a show, apparently. I don't remember what it was called, but I haven't watched it. I should watch it. All right, back to it. Another aspect of the industry is that whales and dolphins... Another aspect of this industry is the whales and... Is that Justin? Hello? I'm doing my podcast right now, but I'll pause it to give you a kiss.
Okay.
Another aspect of this industry is the whales and dolphins taken for entertainment. As of March 15th, 2021, at least 59 orcas are held in captivity. 29 of them were captured in the wild, taken from their families, and destined to live in a fish tank for the rest of their lives. 32 of these animals were born into these caged conditions. Since 1961, 166 orcas have been taken for captivity. 129 of them are now dead. This becomes increasingly upsetting when the natural lifespan of these beings is considered. Males, average of 30 years, can live to be 60. Females, average of 46 years, can live to be 90. Can you imagine living 90 years in a tank? Like, imagine the room you're in right now. You know, if assuming it's small, I guess. Your whole life, you can't leave. You cannot leave. And everyone just comes to stare at you. And then the people that are holding you captive get paid to hold you captive. Don't go to SeaWorld. Okay. Presently, speaking of SeaWorld has 20 orcas in their 3 parks, and at least 49 orcas have died in their care. One orca, who was caught at the young age of 4, is still being kept as their slave. In 1977, she was captured along with 80 other residents of the Southern Sea. 7 were taken into captivity, while at least 5 died. Known by her captors as a Lolita, she is the only survivor. The southern resident orcas are now a critically endangered population. Recently, many of them have been slowly starving to death due to overfishing. Pods are often seen sharing fish when they have trouble finding food. One of their oldest members was seen doing this before dying of starvation. If we don't stop taking animals from the ocean, then in the near future there will no longer be life in this ocean. At least life that we can reach. If that happens, then it's our fault for not taking action, which we absolutely still can do. To gain a greater perspective on life in captivity as an orca, please watch the documentary Blackfish on Netflix. Highly recommend it. Dolphins. Dolphins are highly intelligent, sensitive creatures. In the ocean, they can travel up to 100 kilometers a day, often seen jumping playfully in the air. They are conscious of each breath they take and even move as they sleep. Dolphins have even been documented saving the lives of humans on multiple occasions. In about 40 countries, over 100,000 dolphins, small whales, and porpoises are killed annually. Some are killed intentionally, while others fall victims to industrial fishing nets. Tuna boats often use dolphins to track where the tuna fish are, resulting in the dolphins being caught in the nets as well. Thousands of dolphins die every year due to tuna fishing. This number used to be much higher, but has been reduced in part to marine protection organizations. The recent documentary Seaspiracy, however, highlighted the ineffectiveness of the organization selling labels claiming to be dolphin-safe tuna. Mark J. Palmer, who works at the Earth Island Institute, which manages the Dolphin Safe label, made some frightening statements. When questioned if there is a guarantee that every Dolphin Safe label does in fact mean what it says, he responded with, "Nope, nobody can. Once you're out in the ocean, how do you know what they're doing? We have observers on board. Observers can be bribed and are not out on a regular basis." After the documentary's release, he stated that his words were taken out of context. According to Intrafish, he said, "I answered that there are no guarantees in life, but that by dramatically reducing the numbers of vessels intentionally chasing and netting dolphins, as well as other regulations in place, that the numbers of dolphins that are killed is very low. Now, while it's nice that fewer boats are intentionally hunting and killing dolphins, that does not actually take away from his previous statement. While his organization has worked on successfully declining the number of dolphins killed in the tuna industry, there's no guarantee that your dolphin-safe tuna label is in fact what it claims to be. And regardless of if a dolphin did or did not die, that tuna probably would have preferred to live as well." In addition to the harm done to dolphins via fishing, many are kidnapped from the wild and taken to live as captives in aquariums for the purpose of entertainment. In these aquariums, they're generally trained to perform. Often they're taught how to do tricks through methods of food deprivation. In essence, they keep the dolphins hungry so that they'll do just about anything for their next meal. They're kept in small tanks in unfamiliar pod groupings, completely isolated from their natural habitat and lifestyle. Many die young due to the extremely stressful environment. Virtually all of them are deeply traumatized from the events that unfolded leading to their capture. In Taiji, Japan, there's an annual dolphin slaughter and capture that lasts 6 months. This massacre takes place in a cove near an ancient migratory route of theirs. What's important to note before I describe their method of capture is this. Sound is the primary sense of dolphins. Their sonar is so powerful that they can literally see through solid masses with their incredible perception. This power is used against them. The fishermen wait along dolphin migratory paths and bang massive poles on the boats and form a wall of sound, forcing the dolphins into the cove. They then leave a net up and they go. The dolphins spend the night captured and distressed. The next morning, dolphin trainers select the ones they want. They collect young females primarily, then fly them to different parts of the world. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Instead of releasing the rest of the unchosen, they murder them all. This process takes about half an hour. They're all stabbed again and again and again until they die. The blue water turns a dark crimson red as each of the dolphins slowly bleed out in the water. It's an agonizingly slow, violent, and unnecessarily cruel death. This reality is highlighted by the fact that dolphin meat is not commonly eaten in Japan. Most Japanese citizens are wholly unaware of the slaughter, and when this information is brought to their attention, they're disgusted. Meanwhile, those who do eat dolphin flesh are slowly being poisoned by the high levels of mercury contained in their flesh. A group of activists in Japan made a documentary about this titled The Cove. Rick O'Barry was one of the most prominent figures in the film, particularly because of his background. Rick both captured and trained 5 dolphins used in the popular TV series Flipper. He developed a deep connection with these dolphins over a period of many years due to his role. One day, the dolphin he lived beside swam into his arms and stopped breathing. Every breath a dolphin takes is a conscious effort. This means that at this moment, after years of captivity, she chose to die in his arms. Ooh. That night he was arrested for attempting to free captive dolphins. It is now his mission to free every captive dolphin he can and to end the slaughter in Taiji. The reason Taiji is his focus is due to the fact that it is where most dolphins are captured and killed in the world. You may be wondering why the fishers choose to kill them when their flesh is not commonly consumed and therefore not worth much. The answer is truly saddening. They're seen as pests. Dolphins eat fish, and with the global fish population rapidly declining due to human activity, there's fear among the fishermen that soon the sea will run dry. That fear is then displaced onto the creatures that actually need fish to survive. One year, activists offered to give the fishermen the same amount of money they would get for killing dolphins to not. They said it wasn't even about the money, it was about pest control. The government paid them to kill the massive amounts of dolphins because they eat too much fish. Ooh. Oh, I'm not done yet, but the documentary The Cove kind of ruined me for a little bit. Like I've seen most of the major animal rights documentaries, specifically the gruesome ones. And this one really just hit me in a way that I don't know. I don't think I've even seen a dolphin in real life, but I just feel this like deep connection with them. And to watch people just bludgeon them to death. Whew. It's really sad, man. And it's because they're just doing what they do naturally. Like, yeah, they eat fish because they need to eat fish to survive. Most of us don't. We don't. But we're taking away their food source, and then we're killing them because they're eating what they're supposed to eat. These animals are intelligent, they're emotional, they're sentient, they are aware, and we just kill them by the masses. It's a hard documentary, but I recommend watching it because I think people need to be awake and aware that this is happening. Do something. Just something. Literally anything. Okay, we have 2 more sections we're going to cover today. We're going to cover sharks and lobsters, and then we're gonna end this for the day. It's the end of my sea creature section, and I'm a little too emotional to continue. Okay, sharks. Well over 500 species of sharks live in the ocean and have been doing so since the age of the dinosaurs. Every shark species is a completely different creature, with lantern sharks being about the size of a human hand and whale sharks looking more like a bus. Hammerheads' unique, elegant heads give them a nearly 360-degree vision and the ability to sense electromagnetic fields. Some sharks lay eggs while others give live births. The duration of their pregnancies range from months to several years for others. Their lifespans vary greatly as well, with the most impressive being the Greenland shark. Scientists estimate that they can live to be 500 years old. Wow, that's crazy. That's cool. The differing skills, capabilities, and purposes these creatures serve in their given ecosystems are truly amazing. In most spaces they occupy, sharks are apex predators and are absolutely essential to maintain the delicate balance of the ocean's health. Unfortunately, at least 100 million sharks are killed every year. That number only factors in those reported, as it's estimated that millions more are killed illegally. This continuous massacre has led to a third of all shark species, around 181 of them, being labeled as endangered. Sharks are often directly killed for their fins, meat, liver oil, and cartilage, while also being indirectly killed as bycatch. Shark fin soup is seen as a status symbol in some parts of Asia and is used in traditional Chinese medicine. A bowl of shark fin soup can go for up to $100, despite the cartilage itself being relatively tasteless. Regardless, it's still viewed by many as a delicacy, and there are rumors that it improves the health of the consumer. The high mercury content of shark fins is, of course, not mentioned in the sales pitch. The process in which their fins are obtained is merciless. Sharks, captured from their homes, are pulled aboard a boat to have all of their fins cut off and then are thrown back into the water still alive. They then sink to the bottom of the ocean floor, paralyzed, and slowly die. Many who are even unintentionally caught are assaulted in this manner due to the high price of their fins. Some countries have laws against this practice, but these laws are often not enforced. Who's enforcing the laws on the oceans? Annually, it's estimated that 20 million blue sharks are killed for their fins. When large shark Where large shark populations were once abundant, many of their species have faced a steep drop in numbers. Overfishing is a major cause of this decline, as sharks are often caught alongside the intended target. Human decimation of ocean wildlife is detrimental for the actual carnivores who live there. As fish populations decline, as do their natural predators, who suddenly struggle to feed themselves. Industrial fishing and animal agriculture in general have caused mass amounts of plastic and chemical pollution in the ocean, which is constantly destroying habitats, trapping sea life, and endangering our oceans. Lobsters. Lobsters experience the world in a way that's only imaginable to most people. They have sensory hairs along their legs that they use to taste, and their smell. They have sensory hairs along their legs that they use to taste, and their sense of smell comes from their antennas detecting various chemicals. Similar to us, lobsters carry their young for 9 months and can live to be 100 years old. Unfortunately, many do not make it that long against their top predator, humans. In the United States alone, tens of millions of these creatures are consumed every year. Lobsters can migrate up to 100 miles a year in search for their ideal environment. Humans set up traps along the seafloor that capture them as they travel. Like all animals, lobsters feel pain. In fact, it may be even a bit more intense than ours is. According to invertebrate zoologist Jaron G. Horsley, the lobster does not have an automatic nervous system that puts it into a state of shock when it's harmed. With this in mind, it's quite tragic that one of the most common methods of killing them includes conscious dismemberment and boiling them alive. When placed in the scalding water, their bodies twist and turn as they try to desperately escape the hell they've been placed into. Crabs are often killed in the same vicious manner. Ooh. I'm writing a book about a happier subject, and I'm pretty hype about it. Because right now this shit's depressing. It is. But a lot of people don't know this, and I didn't know a lot of this information as I was writing and researching for the book, and I think it's really important information to know because we're living in a critical time right now where we have the opportunity to be stewards of this planet. We have the opportunity to heal. We have the opportunity to reclaim our power and do good. Do good by the earth, do good by ourselves, do good by whomever it is that we believe in. I think we can transform all of the great harm that's happening right now. That change does start within. And I know that sounds, haha, people say that. They say it because it's true. It does. It's not going to come from anywhere else. It's going to come from your actions. We have the capacity to heal this planet. Like, the world doesn't need fixing. The world's great. We have a fantastic planet. It gives us everything we need. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. And all the creatures in it are amazing. And it's such a blessing to live here. All we have to do is stop harming the planet. All of us. And I know the corporations and the billionaires are the biggest contributors. I'm aware of that. But all of us are enabling them. With our purchasing power, with our complacency, with the just ability to look away and look at something else and let them keep doing the harm. We need to solve this if we want to have a future here. I want to have a future here. I really, really do. That's why this podcast exists. That's why I wrote this book. I feel like I'm here to help us heal. So please, 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 just believe in yourself. Believe in us. Continue learning. Please join me for next week's episode. I already talked about what that's going to be, but I'm super excited about that. We're going to be interviewing Matt Johnson. We're going to be talking about, activism, really bringing animal rights to the courts and, the effects that that's going to have. I'm excited to continue talking with people that are really doing the work to make the direct change and sharing, the wisdom that they have to share with you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I am really looking forward to next week's episode, and I'm grateful for your presence. Adios.